dream about railroading, and it's very annoying because every time I dream about it, same thing. The train's pulling by and I'm waiting to get on the caboose. I can never grab that caboose. Never. I don't know how many times that's happened. I dream that damn caboose is gone. I put myself in a position where, a little higher or something so it's easier. I can't grab that caboose.
Here in Canada, we grew up on old stories of gold trails and ghost towns, tales of exploration and life on the railroad. All over this land, you're likely to come across old remnants from the past that set off a certain wonder and curiosity of what life was like back then. British Columbia cradles the land between the North Pacific Ocean and the mighty Rocky Mountains. Filled with high alpine ranges and deep valleys, its Selkirk Mountains are home to Slocan Lake. This is where I first heard about the legend of the lost locomotive number 3512. There's some scattered records from that time and a few murky reports from the locals, but no one has seen this old steam locomotive since it fell into the lake over 75 years ago. Now I'm wondering, how did this really happen and what else is down there? Was the bottom of this deep, dark lake the last stop for locomotive number 3512?
Where we live is in the middle of nowhere in BC.
Nobody actually knows how deep the lake is. People sometimes say that the lake is as deep as the mountain is high. There's got to be just a lot of uncharted territory down there.
I can't imagine being out there in the middle of the winter, in the dark, freezing cold, and the wind must have been just howling.
I've spent my time out with search and rescue, fire rescue, 10-foot waves, going to fish people out of the water. Be aware of the black line that's out there. If you don't respect it, stay away. You gotta respect this lake, definitely.
So I was a dive guide in Southeast Alaska, and I worked as a halibut fisherman, longline fishing. So I've spent a lot of time on the water and under the water. I've dove on countless wrecks in the Pacific Northwest, but this was a chance to find something that has never been seen before. The locomotive number 3512. When looking at the depth at Slocan Lake, depths recorded at like 950, some at 1,000 feet. Like, that's so deep. This is about as intense as it gets with an unknown location, looking for something that's gonna be basically the size of a grain of rice in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. And if we do find it, and if it's in good condition, and if it's, not imploded, or if it's not stuck in silt or something like that, maybe we have a chance to recover it. We're talking about a very, very tough task. The first steps were simply understanding what happened that night in 1947. There ended up being a lot of conflicting reports of what happened that night. Like, some folks are saying it didn't even sink. Some folks are saying we'll never find it because there was an explosion, that people died, that there was gold down there. It might have been in the southern end of the lake, or it's 11 miles up or 9 miles up. Some folks just said we're crazy, we're never gonna find it.
As far as finding that engine, I think it's hopeless. That's what I'd say, it's absolutely hopeless. But you never know. You got a lot better equipment nowadays than they had back in 1947. I was out on the barges and the slip down here, but I was a fisherman, There was 2 wooden barges, and they put the boat in the center of these 2 barges, and they'd go up the lake. The barges were pointing in like this. They took the trains back and forth.
The reason it went on the barge is it was too difficult to build along the side of Slocan Lake. So you basically have to blast a lot of rock, and oftentimes it's unstable and subject to things like snowslides. Very expensive construction and very difficult maintenance over time to maintain a railroad like that. So it proved more efficient to provide a barge service and avoid building the rail line along the lakeshore. The way the geography works is the valleys are north-south, so the natural transportation routes are north-south. So it was natural for Americans to head into BC, following the rivers and lakes. And they prospected heavily through the 1880s and 1890s. And by the late 1880s, there were a number of major mineral discoveries and mines had started up, including the Slocan area. And that was mainly a lead, silver, zinc discovery, but the interest at the time was silver.
There was a big awareness in the East that the interior of BC had huge potential for minerals in particular. So there was a big movement in the United States to take as much land in North America as they possibly could. BC is kind of out there and very much on their own, thousands of miles away from the mother country in Britain. If they hadn't had the railway connection, I think they definitely would have become part of the United States. The U.S. Civil War ended. It was very uncertain what would happen to the rest of the British possessions above the border. The Americans are thinking they're going to take over the western part of this, so British Columbians are not sure whether they're going to join the U.S., whether they're going to join Canada. So there's promises made to them by John A. Macdonald's government. Within 10 years, we'll build the Canadian Pacific Railway. We'll join you to the east. We'll have one big country, sea to sea. As it turns out, they were able to build the whole line within 5 years, keep BC happy, created the country, one side to the other, and that's sort of the origins of why we have Canada the way it is today.
Beyond that, the development of the country, the immigration, the industrial development, could only have occurred with the railway. It was the only means of large-scale transportation until large-scale highways were developed by the 50s.
It's just so much in the fabric of the country. But up until the Second World War, it's unbelievable the amount of things that the railway was involved in and had their fingers in, and it virtually affected everybody. That's why you either loved or you hated the railway.
So moving trains from rail to barge to be moved on the lake was a very delicate operation. There were a couple of notorious incidents where boxcars went sailing off of the transfer slip into the lake. The result of the mishaps when transferring those trains was, in one case, a fatality, and in a couple of cases, boxcars that went into the lake, and they had to bring divers to try to rescue the contents of those boxcars.
I couldn't shake the feeling that finding this engine would unlock some secrets of BC's history. Driving into Slocan, it's as small a town as it gets. Not much going on, one convenience store, one gas station.
From a historical perspective, its diversity is pretty interesting. It had mining history, it had fruit ranching history, it had transportation history with railways and steamboats.
There was 5,000 men at one time right in Springer Creek alone, and there was 5,000 here downtown. But this is way back in the 1890s, you know. Well, I guess In Slocan, the Hicks family is. I'm the oldest. I've lived here all my life. We got Johnny-come-latelys that are older than me, but they haven't been here for just a few years. Yeah, I guess the Hicks family probably is one of the oldest in Slocan. They were the first to come in the mining days, eh?
The word Slocan is actually from the Snakes language, which means to pierce or to strike on the head, which referred to their practice of harpooning salmon. The Snakes First Nation lived here for thousands of years, since time immemorial, but during the mining rush, they were basically made to feel unwelcome in their own backyard. They moved away, and not really willingly either. By the 1950s, the federal government actually declared the Snakes an extinct First Nation, even though their descendants were still alive in Washington state. And then in the 1980s, some Snakes members who lived in Washington state moved back here, where they established a presence over the last 30 years. Europeans came here to chase mining fortunes. The big mining boom started in the mid-1880s with the discovery of the Silver King mine. This is an area that had a lot of mines, like every square inch covered with mining claims, and sometimes overlapping, and sometimes disputes between prospectors about who staked what. From about 1891 to 1900, the Slocan was a very important place in British Columbia, both economically and politically. If you were running for premier in British Columbia in the 1890s, you had to pay close attention to the Slocan. You had to come here and campaign because it was an important area. It was a source of considerable wealth, a huge economic engine in British Columbia in those days.
Even though Slocan was a prosperous and important town, things started to change after the Second World War. Mines started to close and the lumber industry slowed down. The steam engine was on its way out.
New Year's Eve, 1946, a train crew from Nelson was making their return trip from Nakusp to Slocan. They took the train from Nakusp to Rosebery. Rosebery was the place where the train would leave the tracks, be placed on the barges to go further down the lake to Slocan City. Train crew of 5. There was a conductor, an engineer, 2 brakemen, including Bill Chapman, and a fireman.
Bill Chapman. We finally had a name. So lo and behold, when I pick up the phone, I call, I'm like, "Hi, is this Bill Chapman?" The man says, "Yes." "Were you working for the Locomotive 3512 in 1947? And were you on the barge when it sank on New Year's Eve?" And he goes, "Yes." There you go. Are you comfortable?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah. Monday morning when we left Nelson, when we got on the barge, I was telling the guys I had a dream during the night. And in this dream, the bloody barge sank. And I told him about it. I was a pilot on multi-engine aircraft. When I come out of the Air Force in 1946, September, I hired on CP Rail as a trainman. This particular Monday was the last day of the year, New Year's Eve. We made arrangements with the company that we could go through to Anacostia and then come back to Nelson in one trip.
All right, gentlemen, we've got the map laid out here before us now, and remember it dates back to September of 1966.
Bill gave us his best estimation of where the accident happened. So now we need a team. My first call was to Vern Johnson, the director of the Canadian Diving Institute. I was thrilled to hear he was interested in helping us find Bill's train. But he and the crew only had 1 week of availability before the onset of winter. I'm hoping that will give us enough time to find the number 3512 somewhere at the bottom of Slocan Lake.
That's part of the history, is to know we have a locomotive in the Slocan Lake. We should look at it, all right? And we should bring that to everyone's attention.
These guys are the real deal. One of very few that we actually have here in Western Canada.
Here we have the Slocan Lake. From the information that we have right now, we do know that the barge and the train assembly was heading south. And I know, Fraser, you've done a fair amount of look into all of this.
So there was a few different newspaper articles at the time that quite a few spoke about it being 5 miles north of Slocan when it sank. So Slocan Lake is it's pretty deep. I think the surface area is like 70 square kilometers or something. So it's a big lake, it's deep. There's a lot of folklore, there's a lot of rumors around things that go on there.
Right, and did they talk about the depth that they felt as though it actually went down in as well?
The testimony reckons 760 or 750 feet of water. There's not a lot of nutrients in the lake, so there shouldn't be too much algae in the lake, which might make visibility better than other lakes, which obviously helps for our search. I'm led to believe there's a lot of silt at the bottom, which would mean anything that fell from, off a barge or anything that sank that was heavy, it could sink, or if it didn't sink straight away, it could sink over time.
So knowing what we've got now, knowing the topography, there is enough data that puts us into the right location. Would a 400-ton locomotive get severely damaged on impact in the bottom? Most likely not, actually. It's probably in remarkable shape. Is it potentially buried? We don't understand exactly what the substrate makeup is like, all right? And that's what we're gonna be able to look at. Once we picture that out, and if it is buried, we can use other technology to map it below subsurface to get a good, clear image of what we have. The fact that it is extremely deep, this is serious stuff. We're looking in depths of 720 feet, right? Yeah, we're looking forward to that challenge. Confident? Right, Fraser, any other comments at this point?
No, it's great. Looking forward to it.
All right, gentlemen, we're good.
After learning of how deep the wreck might be, we know that we're going to have to use some sort of ROV system.
A remote operated vehicle is essentially an unmanned mini submarine, and we needed one that can handle these extreme depths.
We've located a sub that's locally made on the West Coast, and it's a small little observation class called a Seymour Chinook. It's a fantastic little sub. It's really well built.
It's lightweight, it's maneuverable, but it punches quite above its weight. It's got high power LED lights.
We'll be using our cameras on the sub as well as the Blue View sonar system. And the Blue View enables us to have a really good 3D image of it, even if it's in bad visibility.
Blue View uses sonar to detect dense objects underwater, honing in on targets with sharp edges.
So we're going to use an imaging sonar just to try and find targets to search. We'll have a USBL system, which is a very basic tracking system. We can't see the ROV when it's at depth. We'll know where we are on the boat, but there's any number of places where the ROV could be underneath us. It's kind of like GPS, but it's in relation to where you are.
Yeah, I mean, you've got auto heading and auto depth, but I think
maybe just get a bit more slack in the local. I have a lot of faith in Fraser, and I rely heavily on him. He's a young engineer who's smart as a whip, so he's a good asset to the team.
My concerns are that there's a lot of debris in lakes. there's trees, there's all sorts of stuff. And you don't have peripheral vision with an ROV. So we get this thing tied up or tangled, we've lost it. So that's the biggest concern. So just making sure that everyone's on board with that, and when we're flying, I guess the second concern would be that we don't find it. That's a concern. There's a lot of people are excited about where it is. You know, it's a big train, right? But just with the conditions, you never know.
Did all our servicing, set the cars out here and there where they were needed. We loaded the barge at midnight.
At Rosebery, the train was put onto 2 barges, one steel barge, which had most of the train, and a wooden barge, which had the locomotive, the caboose, snowplow, and 3 flat cars of lumber. The barges are loaded with the train, and the rest of the crew stays in the caboose to get some rest because it's 4 o'clock in the morning.
The captain wouldn't leave because the lake was too rough, so we just bedded down in the caboose. During the trip down, evidently there was pretty rough water, and one of the deckhands happened to go out. Went shoveling snow off the barge. Noticed that the barge was down quite a bit at the back, obviously taking on water. This is when they realized they had trouble. It was just before 7.
A couple of hours go by, and they get down the lake, and the captain of the Rosebery notes that the wooden barge is starting to list at kind of a distressing angle, taking on water. And so he asks the train crew if they could adjust the locomotive to try to balance the wooden barge.
Water was splashing up on the front of the barge, and because of the water splashing up, froze on the rail, made ice, literally froze the engine to the rail. The first thing we knew about it in the caboose, the captain came and asked us to, one of us, go out and help the engine man move the engine. The engine wouldn't do that himself. That's when we found out that it's frozen, you can't do it.
And that would have been very difficult and dangerous to do if it was even possible, which in this case it was not possible because the fire had already gone out in the locomotive. It didn't have steam to be moved.
So after talking to tons of locals and hearing about all the wrecks that were in Slocan Lake, I knew I had to go diving.
This lake was used extensively to help move people and goods since the Silver Rush began, and it's littered with debris from those early days. There was still one question that needed to be answered, and to do that, I had to go underwater. Even if we found the lost locomotive, what condition would it be in? Would there even be anything left to see? During my dives, I was able to find wreckage from 30 to 150 feet deep. Barges, tractors, sunken logs. These things are like relics of the valley's history. And because the glacier-fed lake water was so cold, all the debris was in really good condition.
It's 1947. I doubt anyone's wearing life jackets. If you were to fall in, you're going to die of hypothermia rather quickly.
Then pretty soon the captain come back in and he says, "You got to get out. Barge is going to sink."
The tugboat captain asked the train crew to tell the guys who were in the caboose to please get off the caboose, get off the barge, and come into the tugboat, which they did.
The conductor was the first one off. It was quite a jump. I figured between 5 and 10 feet. It's a cable. There was a lot of tension.
The wooden barge then listed at a 45-degree angle.
This is probably one of the best teams you can find in all of Western Canada. I mean, this is serious stuff, very, very deep. And if you could just picture this tiny vessel way up top, all right, and approximately 760 feet below that, we're running some of the most serious technology underwater to search for this locomotive. This is probably the most advanced technology that has ever gone into Slocan Lake.
So we've got a bunch of newspaper reports from the time that, give us 5 miles, 8 miles, 6 miles north of Slocan City. This contour line right around here is 760 feet. It gets slightly deeper as it goes out here. It gets a lot deeper as it goes out here, and it gets shallow very quickly. And from here, we'll sort of conduct a grid search pattern with the ROV. The locomotive engine is our primary target. That's what we're looking for. So there's no gung-ho attitude here. We want to make sure we do things methodically and safely. Any hazard that we go past, anything that we don't see, there's a chance we could get entangled.
So just so everybody's aware, usually in this area, the wind really kicks up and it can be quite strong. So it can get dangerous really fast. So if it kicks up too much, there's a possibility that we might have to evacuate.
Everyone's mobilizing to get down there. Toolbox meeting at 9 o'clock. Does that sound?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, let's go. Let's get out there. Let's go find ourselves a train.
On the first day of the search, the weather wasn't looking great, but the barge was in position, the boats were ready, and the gear was assembled. So we headed out.
All right, everyone. So apparently right now the barge has got 2 of the deep water moorings that are out. So in transit, once we go out there, it's going to be really important that we keep an eye out for everybody. We do have full first aid, oxygen. So in the event of anyone going into the water, you need to direct your attention to me.
Our objective on day 1 was to get the sub into the water and get operating as quickly as possible. Now with the looming storm, we wanted to maximize our bottom time at lake bed and do as much grid pattern searching as possible.
Okay, so we're just setting up with the wind fog system. I'm just having a couple of little minor things not quite working for me. It's just now it's got a 0. It's still yellow, but it's now the map seems to have got a bit confused. Yeah. So I've got code 12, age, which is the time. I've got X, Y, and Z axis. It seems to be reading it. So,
Coming down, auto depth check.
I'll be lifting in if you want, but got that good grip.
Where's my rope cut? 1, 2, 3, go. Let it go.
All right, guys, topside there in ROV dive control. We will commence with our descent now. Roger that?
Yep, head down.
Roger that.
Roger that, 500.
The first day is often, all about working out the kinks in any operation. And in this one, I think there's definitely a lot of anticipation that we could get this thing in there and it would be easy and we'd get her underwater and we'd be well on our way in day one.
We're close to the bottom. Whatever you gotta do to hold that for us. But the wind's picking up and we're drifting.
700 feet.
70 feet.
Roger, 70, you're 44 off bottom.
I'm gonna slow down. 70. One seabed. One seabed, 730. Thanks, buddy. Thank you. 12 minutes.
The thought that I really remember from day one is like, man, it took us a long time to get set up. We lost a lot of the daylight. The barge wasn't really ideal. It was a piling barge that we'd rented out at Nelson. And, it looked like it was sinking before we even got going. And then once we kind of had the whole crew and stuff on there, there's definitely some doubts in my mind.
We had the sub working and operating the water, and we finally began to search.
Still think this is your best option for flying out of.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And, before we knew it, the rain started to come in, the weather started to change. The last thing we thought we would see is the black line on day one.
All right, guys, we've definitely got a wind line approaching. We can see the elevation change there in the water. It's coming at us. But that wind line is, you can see where the water is actually elevated. And that's the front of the wind that's coming right at us. We have very little freeboard, right? So we need to make sure that everything stays safe. We don't want to be taking a lot of waves over top because the waves would come right over top of the deck of this barge.
The black line comes with waves and wind. And when you're working on open platforms or boating, you got to be really careful with what you're doing out here.
Then it kind of ended prematurely due to the weather blowing in. So, at the end of the day, there's a little bit of frustration in terms of, what we got accomplished. Definitely just had to get everybody together and say, hey guys, we got to be a little bit more organized, maximize the use of our daylight hours going forward.
That sentiment I probably share with everybody else here. We're here to do, a cool job and let's make it a success. And so the one thing I just want to leave you with is let's make sure tomorrow we have it coordinated as far as let's maximize our use and take advantage of it because who knows, right? We might not get good weather tomorrow and we might only get a couple hours, right?
First you're here tomorrow, you guys can be setting your stuff up while we do our thing and perfect. We'll get through the first two to work on and then we'll get there.
Yeah. But thanks for the efforts anyway. Yeah.
Everybody.
Just see you got a guy with the chain. Perfect.
As the black line approached, I took a moment to think of Bill and what that would have been like for him to be there that night in the winter with chaos erupting all around him.
I remember the skipper hollering to one of the deckhands, cut that cable. And the deckhand took an axe and one swipe, cut the cable. Dumped everything off the side.
If the crew in the tug hadn't cut the line for the barge as it began to sink, very likely that the tugboat would have sank as well. I think everybody on board would have died because of that.
I couldn't help but think of Bill and the long life he might not have lived.
So the barge guys are, they left at 6 a.m. this morning with the barge and 2 tugs to go set up. And basically they're dropping anchors and gives us a little bit of a way to move. And we can search this area in like a circle search. And if we don't find anything, we can pull up on one of the anchors, pull up on the scope, move the barge here, and then circle search that area.
How much rope are we gonna need for that?
I believe we're gonna be in about 950 to 700 feet. We're gonna be at least putting out about 800 more feet of line, just so we've got enough scope.
Gotta get the proper angle on your anchors?
Yeah, it's like, you know, the only thing that gives me a little bit of doubt is that if we're on the wrong spot, we're anchored to these areas. We have a direct coordinate that the dive team put together, so we need the barge guys to go out there and drop on that spot. And like I said, if they don't, we lose the day. Okay, let's get these barge over. Let's get this ROV in the water.
When you see him, just let him know that we're heading to the first anchor drop, okay? He just has to zero in on us.
Copy that.
Stand by to cut. Okay, let it go. Cut it. Roger. As soon as we get this, we're going to get the barge situated right back onto its center point while we start to get ourselves. We'll see. Right now, we could probably hold station reasonably well. Yeah. So we don't want to fly too much, but we can drop down and get the sonars working because we are in the right spot there. Yeah. Okay. That's a good, safe way to release it, though, guys. That was good. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're happy. We've got good scope on the lines, and they're fairly tight. So.
Roger enough. Well, I'm sitting right now at 750 feet of water. Okay, we're gonna bust our dives in.
Right, hold down.
Fraser, you ready?
Let's go.
Subs in the water.
Oh, head down.
Just make sure you're showing me them.
Okay, we've got a few loops in there, so just let me take some of that down first.
Yeah, I got you.
feet.
Slack the tether a bit.
It's right. 180 stack.
Far out. 5 meters.
Whoa. You want to head up?
Whoa, what's this? Whoa. Got something.
Put 5 meters of slack in the tether, Marcus.
5 meters.
Whoa, whoa, careful, careful. Yeah.
5 given.
Shit, that's a log. It's got something.
Stop.
Let's come around this one.
Come up to the right.
Okay, this is wreckage of some description. That's a cottage of some description. That's like it's something.
We're seeing something.
It's wreckage.
It's wreckage.
Something.
It's definitely
It's a chassis of something.
Hey, just give us a little feedback, or one of the other guys, of what you're looking at. Just have an idea of what's going on.
We're looking at a bit of chassis, but we're not sure what exactly it is. There's wood and some metal on it. We're just trying to fly around it.
Click on measure.
Roger that. Are you talking visual or sonar visual?
Visual.
Roger that.
Faster? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're right there. Let me just hang up. There's perfect. I'll hold this depth. There's a shit ton of stuff over here. Dude.
It's a wooden chassis with some metal fasteners on the side. It's quite big, about 25 meters long.
There's some steel there.
And there's other debris leaned against it, so
Let's go
we're just trying to fly around it,
check this out.
ascertain if it's train components or not.
You got a fix, yeah?
Yeah.
Sweet. Just want to get around it.
So that the target is looking at 25 meters long. That's like 76 feet.
Okay, Marcus, we're in line with something quite big here, so
Understood. Just let me know what you need.
yeah.
That's not a boat.
No, that's not a boat.
Look at those things on the ground there. They look like there's something underneath the silt.
Beat. Hang on.
What are those poking out?
Yeah, there's steel beams here. This is reinforced. Needs something. So we get to my right, just off to my right.
Very good sound.
It's a mast or a chimney, or just get closer.
Sticky.
Looks like a barge.
The more we look at it, the more it looks like a barge.
Colton, is it okay if I mention a few things here, Dave, on the boat?
Yeah, go ahead, David.
Yeah, there was a sawmill set up in there right up until about 1927, I believe it was. Then, you know, the barge sunk on there. I didn't know that it was still in the water.
It's huge. I mean, it's a big barge.
Do you think that all that wreckage was the same thing?
Yeah.
Or the same wreckage?
Yeah. And it seems like a barge, unrelated to the train.
So it was like a real big high and then a really big low, because we ended up continuing to search that area and found nothing.
I believe it's on the 760, 790. It's a little more north, so we're gonna fly straight up the 760.
Right.
And
Has to make sense. It's tight.
Yeah, I know, but pull her hard.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Dude, nah, it's too tight, man. Look, it's...
On day 2, what actually happened was, we struggled a little bit getting the ROV down there. I think at the end of the day, we kind of said, hey, we don't have enough rope, and we're not in the right area. That part we kind of found out pretty, towards the end of the day.
The problem was we felt like we were so close, so we decided to push ourselves that night. We ended up working pretty late into the night. I made the choice to keep the crew out when I think some people wanted to go back, and we kept everybody out there maybe a bit too long. The barge just wasn't agile enough for the amount of space we needed to cover. It's a huge lake, it's extremely deep, and the barge is too slow. So we weren't able to search and have enough bottom time. So we made the choice to then send the barge team and the barge back home. It was a tough decision, but we felt it was best to leave the barge and go straight to live boat operating, which of course had a whole other set of problems.
Vern, you're okay driving the boat and I'll deal with all the tether?
Oh, yeah.
The team was tired, but it looked like the worst of the bad weather was behind us, and we had a new strategy to try.
Using a fishing boat that had enough space for all of us and our technology, all our gear, and all the guys to do a live boating search patterns over top of an 800-foot ROV site with currents was gonna really push us to our limits, I think, with being able to pull it off. So now we took out the element of being anchored, which posed a whole new set of problems.
When you're on location, we'll put the sub in. We'll just keep it by the TMS. Okay. And then when everyone's happy, we'll go for it.
Okay, Roger. Are you okay with me putting my nose into the wind then?
Yep.
Okay, Roger.
Okay, let's just slow down, hold your station best you can, put the sub in. And then get it down to TMS and check all the systems.
All right, the screw is just in neutral, 39 for depth.
Okay. So you want to go northeast, you're facing southwest at the moment. Drop it down, Marcus. Oh, I'm on seabed.
Seabed, 720.
You're on seabed now?
Yeah, 720.
And I'm reading, where's the machine relative to the boat?
Well
Square
south.
off your port bow. Okay, perfect.
Once we had the chance to move to the smaller fishing vessel, you know, we were more mobile, and once we found out that we could use the ROV and we didn't need the stable platform anchored, it definitely increased our efficiency in searching for the locomotive.
It allowed us to maximize our search area. So we were getting really excited about the ground that we were starting to cover.
The sonar would read a certain grid, a certain size, and we would accommodate our search pattern north and south, east and west to cover off that ground.
Yeah, so that bowl's just a big empty bowl there, Shane, eh? 810, nothing there.
And then sure enough, you find yourself another 4 hours goes by and you've just been staring at this monitor and all you're hoping for is a little ping on the side sonar or something that's gonna just pop up. You know, it's like, oh, what's that? Another boulder. What's that? Oh, another boulder. Or just like 3-4 hours of straight sand and silt. So the great part of day 3 was we got a lot of searching done. The downside was that we hadn't found the train and we realized that this was going to be a lot more difficult than we had first anticipated. We understood the gravity of what we were trying to accomplish, but I think after day 3, it really resonated. Like, we haven't found this thing and we've put in a lot of hours now. Was what Bill said accurate? Is there anyone else who knows about this?
Well, listen, it's going to take us a couple hours here to wrap up, but most importantly right now, we've got our station where we finished off, and tomorrow we're going to be able to pick up, drop the sub right back onto that same target.
I couldn't help but think of Bill and what it would mean to him for us to find this train.
It was, I could remember lots of noise. When the engine and that started falling off, it was breaking these posts, and they're breaking, cracking, banging, and there was noise, yeah. Oh, there's a massive smash, all right. Remember bubbles, lots of bubbles and the waves. Exciting moment, you might say.
And into the water went the locomotive, the caboose, the snowplow, and the 3 cars of lumber.
Yeah, I would say we were quite lucky. We could have been still asleep during the night if that had happened. Anyway, we lost everything. Nothing we could do about it. The engine, snowplow, the caboose on the one side, 4 boxcars on the other side. And of course, the engine and plow were steel. They just went down. The caboose, it went down a little slower.
They would have come down to Slocan City on the tugboat, and they would have hitchhiked all the way back to Nelson to inform their superiors of what had happened. I think it would have been a pretty difficult ride home.
You picture them waking up or noticing that the barge is listing, and you have to make a choice. And the choice they made was they recognized that the entire barge was going to flip over unless they cut the locomotive off. And then they did. I can definitely relate to those guys back in 1946. Your adrenaline's high, you're looking out for each other, your heart's racing, you're thinking about what's gonna happen if I make the wrong decision, what's gonna happen if we end up in the water. You're gonna freeze and die, you know, and every decision between those 30 seconds might seem like a lifetime. And they did the best they could, and they did a good job.
When this happened, there was a Greyhound bus coming through. The people on the bus and the driver, they saw this all happening. When they got to Nelson, one of them phoned the CPR and told them what had happened, and they said they couldn't see any survivors. So this is the story our wives got. No survivors. Now, you can imagine what the wives were thinking.
When 3512 went down, we were just coming out of the Second World War. The large number of men who signed up to go overseas to fight was that a lot of them didn't come back. It drastically changed not only the population, but perhaps the makeup of this area. There were, British men who had come out to be fruit farmers in the Kootenays. And then once war broke out, they felt, okay, I've got to return to fight for my mother country. And it was a difficult transition to go from having a larger population to suddenly being back to kind of pre-war levels. So once the mines started to run out, then lumber became the chief economic export of the Slocan Valley. Our largest village, New Denver, has a population of 500 or something, and then it's a series of smaller villages and hamlets. You can fit the entire population in an elementary school gym with room left over.
Yeah, well, Slocan, I think the last time they checked it out was about 330, 340 people.
When the train went down, big boom, was over. So the train symbolized kind of the fall of what was once a very prosperous, resource-rich part of our province.
Basically, if tomorrow's weather is bad as it is, it's supposed to drop to -10 and we're getting snow, things are about to get a lot harder. And this will be day 4. So we have quite a big running cost each day. And whether or not we abandon the expedition or not, that's kind of the calls we're gonna have to make, because the weather's not gonna let up for the next few days.
We knew that we weren't gonna have 1 or 2 more days out here. Like, we had to find this thing. And if it's not today, if it's not tomorrow, there might not be a chance.
There's a warning of severe weather on the way for the province.
We are expecting scattered snowfall over much of the region, with the heaviest snowfall happening generally in the West Kootenays. Including the heat with the evening hours will gradually become more intense after sunset. The low-pressure system will continue west this evening as it tracks across the region. 5-day forecast calls for freezing.
And to make sure you have an emergency kit in your vehicle, if you must drive this week.
We need to go from WGS to NAD 27 to convert that.
We were going up and down the lake, but we were coming up shorthanded with false readings, reading big boulders, getting excited, going towards those, but we were still coming up with nothing.
So to convert from easting northing into GPS. So I would get out of that and use, go to engineering toolbox, just search.
We should pack it in. And the reason why is so we can get home earlier. Fraser can actually sit and we can actually start working on this and decipher that to actually figure out where the hell we are. But we can't do that right here. And do we keep rolling the dice, or do we go and spend our time doing stuff that we actually have to do for tomorrow?
Everything we've done right now has gotten us closer, right? And at the end of the day, there's a lot of success here because we know that we don't have to go back to the locations that we've already been. So we have actually narrowed the scope down, and that's part of our job, right? It's not always easy.
I knew that time was running out. In just 2 days, we would lose our dive team and all the gear.
The steam locomotive is simple in its elements: earth, fire, air, water. But by a sort of alchemy, these were wrought into a creature that changed the course of history.
Trains did everything. They brought in the supplies, they took out the ore, brought the people in, especially the miners. And if it wasn't for the trains, this would never have happened. And right now you're looking for one of the engines in the bottom of the Slocan Lake that did bring the ore out of this here area. This here is a nice chunk of lean ore and runs about 70% lead. What was this one weighing?
24 pounds. 44 pounds, sorry. It weighs 44 pounds. Not very big to make that amount of weight, but mining was everything at that time. And when this, like they say, the greed for richness kicked in, and then the miners came from all over. Some of them came as far as from the California gold rush. Many, many men were moving around at that time, and all for this. We're the last of the mining bunch in the Slocan itself.
What was supposed to be search day 6, we decided to stay off the lake, let the snowstorm blow over, and give Fraser more time to study the data we had collected so that we could give ourselves the best chance at finding the wreck on our last day.
You got confidence in my driving? I do. You haven't talked to the rest of the crew, have you? I never was a city slicker, so I kind of avoided them places.
With day 6 of the search being postponed, I couldn't just sit idly by and do nothing. So when Leonard offered to take us a mile underground into Slocan's last mine, I said yes. Maybe getting closer to the heart of this town would bring us the luck we need and help us find this damn thing.
Lights on. Oh, yeah, forget. Lights on.
Making our way into the mountain, this really felt like we were going back in time.
We could be sitting fishing, eh? Or looking for sunken trains, but we like what we're doing. Basically, we're looking for lead, zinc, silver. Yeah. And if we ever pick up a little bit of gold, it sure be nice. We're old school, but we love what we're doing, even if we're short a few parts. Maybe up here we're short a few too, eh? But. Hey, Johnny.
Okay, well.
You guys are a great treat, I'll tell you. For mining industry.
Well, thanks for coming.
As night fell, I couldn't help but question whether I had made the right call to stay off the water that day.
Fraser, who's our brain, he knew something was off. He spent the entire night awake, I don't think he slept, trying to reroute what those coordinates actually meant.
New spot. On the morning of the final day, Fraser had us marked on a location that wasn't part of the original search plan.
You know, without getting too emotionally attached to this new location, it's a much better prospect for going to a whole new location. Completely opposite than what any one of us thought was where the chain location was. South. Vern, if you can, just come east as you're drifting. Roger. You see the vessel and you see where the green dot is?
I got to spin on this.
Yeah, hang on.
and if we need to, we just come up heavy.
Okay, heading north-northeast. Roger. We're sitting in 754. And holding due north.
The hours are running out. I try not to think about having to tell Bill that we couldn't find his lost train, the 3512.
I still dream about railroading. The train's pulling by, and I'm waiting to get on the caboose, eh? I can never catch that caboose. That damn caboose is gone.
Sure. This is nice. This is good.
All right, so I'm gonna come, we're drifting south, so I'm gonna come down around the west side of it. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice, nice.
I'll come in on the blue view while we go around it, eh? Get nice and close for you.
How deep are you flying? 722.
Stay focused. Dead ahead, dead ahead, dead ahead.
Can you fix this for me?
Yeah, here we go. What's that? I'm talking.
You know what I need to do? Okay, 1 second. Easy, just hold station as best you can, Vern.
What's it? Straight ahead.
Okay, Vern, you need
straight
to.
ahead. Straight
Okay,
ahead.
Vern, you need to come to the west, please.
It's square. It's definitely.
Okay. All right. So
There's nothing.
zoom out on that and see where the boat is. Let me know what I need to do with the boat. Okay, 1 second.
This big thing's right in front of us, so got the blue view in on close range, so Shane can keep an eye on it and not get tangled up.
Did you just fly over top of the thing?
Something, stand by. Boys, we've got her. Okay.
Look at the second time. There it is.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay, fix it, fix it.
Fix it.
Say again?
We can see Pacific written on the side of it, so it's Canadian Pacific. And this is her. We found her.
It's pints, lads.
Dude.
Oh, man.
Pints for days.
Here, guys.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Look at that.
Oh, look at that.
There we go.
That's beautiful.
Out of the darkness, like Bill's dream, the first thing we see is this beautiful, perfectly preserved red caboose. I hadn't felt like that since I was a kid. Like, this was, we'd found treasure. Like, we did it. This is it. Like, this is what we set out to do.
We found the 3512. We found Bill's train.
I'm like emotional, and I don't really get emotional.
Oh, yeah, Marcus is not getting emotional.
Yeah, so for me, like, to feel how good I feel right now is pretty special. I think it's just one of those feelings you don't get often.
Yeah, we can tether up here. Okay, tether's up on the bank.
Would you like me to do something?
Leave
it.
Just leave.
It was right. It's right there. It's crazy.
Whoa! Come back around. Come back around. The 3512.
There you go.
There you go.
Sure enough, it's the coal tender of the locomotive. And it even says on it, in yellow printing, 3512.
And then once we did see Canada Pacific and we saw the numbers, then everyone could breathe a sigh of relief. Just to like see that in reality, how could this have fallen 1,000 feet or 800 feet through the water column to land perfectly with things still on it that rightfully should have been gone?
Hey, did you fix this one yet? No. Here we go. What's that?
And we started to head to the next object, the massive snowplow.
I mean, it was sat up straight. It wasn't buried in the silt too much. The way the iron was cut, and just that snowplow it's so big and so impressive and so heavy that for me was really cool to see. So we flew around that.
Canadian Pacific, look at it. It's beautiful condition. CP 400834. Boy, oh boy. Look at this. It's so well preserved, eh? We've got a bit of a crater here as well, eh? You can see a bit of a crater. It says black hole. We've got some edges of a crater around the edge here. And then we've got something in a crater. So
Okay. Now on that map, we should be.
Yeah, where did it?
Bring up that map.
Where's your phone in that?
On our sonar, you could see a 60-meter wide crater.
we're 50 meters out. Super good returns. This is really nice.
What do you think it is?
Yeah, that's something big, something straight, sharp edges, and then with something in a crater. So.
On our way over, we found the sand dome and the steam cap. And we were confident that this crater site and wreck site was the locomotive engine buried in the silt.
When we flew over top of it, you could see that the locomotive had turned over and landed upside down, almost like you would imagine if the barge is tilting and the engine falls and it falls through the water column and lands on the bottom.
The train and the search, it created this eerie kind of feeling, like this lost ghost train had a spirit of its own. And when we found it, it was almost like that rare, quick glimpse that, oh, you get to see me now, but you're not going to see me for long.
So that's why he's just trying to get under it and pull it out. So this bite is over top of this one.
There was sharp metal poking up from the seabed, from the locomotive wreckage. And we looked back with the ROV and we had tangled the tether over top of the locomotive.
Roger.
Okay. Screw is still alive.
It's coming straight back.
Just easy,
Stop.
just easy.
So,
No, it's coming, it's coming. Want me to stay astern?
yeah, nice and easy.
Come up easy.
We flew around as best we could to eventually free the ROV umbilical from what could have been a disaster. And as soon as we started getting detailed footage of each piece of the machinery, our video feed died.
Mom's car, it's we've lost.
Yeah.
It kept fighting because before we knew it, we lost all visual and it was gone.
No, are you getting slack?
No, it's just a down, bud.
So now we're left to recover the ROV. It's a dead sub in the water, and then I just pull it 750 feet dead weight to the surface, and thank God we got it back.
Now it's all.
Yeah.
Seriously. Bring it over.
When we got out of the caboose, I knew I had clothes in the back locker. For some reason, I didn't think about these two nice coats. They're still down at the bottom.
You know, I hope we get the opportunity to go back there because it sounds like there's a nice coat and maybe a nice bottle of unsanctioned scotch on that caboose.
Nice. Let's go get some beers.
I feel fortunate in my career and in my life that I've had a passion for what I've done. And when I go to reflect back, I have to be honest, it's not so much about all the unique jobs, because it's taken me around the planet to a lot of unique areas, and thousands of dives later, I cherish all of those moments, which is really, really important. But what I will probably grow old with, unequivocally, is the characters I've had the opportunity to work with that share the same passion.
Now that we found the locomotive, we began to think about what to do next.
So right here, right in the middle, is exactly where the train is.
We're actually expecting it, to be to the north a little bit further, quite a bit off of the initial location that we'd been searching.
Well, now that we found it, we need to work on the methodology of floating it, and then finally finding the people that can help us fix it and make it functional. It's like a time capsule that we're going to unlock and release.
I'm so happy to have you all here today. A lot of you know that we went on an expedition last October to search for the lost locomotive 3512. And today we are so excited to be able to show you some of that footage.
Our ultimate goal is to tell the story, and then we're going to float it, and then we're going to fix it. And we're going to return it back somewhere it was destined.
Right now, we're approaching the first thing that we saw.
It is one of our best bits of folklore. At the time, it was a calamity, and I'm sure a huge embarrassment for the company and a very dangerous incident. But 70 years on, I think we can kind of look at it as a fascinating story of our lake.
Harry Butler, he was actually the captain. I am his granddaughter. He was the one that cut the cables to release the train from the barge. I would love to walk on it and walk where my grandfather walked.
When I said you'll never find it, I never realized you had the equipment you got. Well, just that cord going down, well, that's 720 feet, for Christ's sake.
I hope you're eating up what you said.
Yeah. I didn't realize the equipment they got. Well, I've been wrong before.
I was wrong once too, but I was mistaken.
You probably found out later you weren't. I don't think you can ever go backwards. It just doesn't happen, And they say it's a changing world. It's not the world that's changing. It's the people that's in it.
I guess it's going to be perhaps a little bit less of a blue-collar town, perhaps, in the future.
The fallout of the industrial era in the Slocan Valley kind of coincided with what happened with the sinking of the 3512. It was lost. I think finding the locomotive resurrects that history and hopefully foreshadows the future of new beginnings in Slocan.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this quite a while. How far down, how deep is it?
730 feet. This is after days of seeing nothing.
There's 3512.
There it is.
There it is. It's easy to see, too.
I know.
It's been down there a long time. A lot of people never thought they'd see that again. I didn't either. We thought the engine went down in the mud. But if that was the case, there wouldn't be all that other debris around. So it's a pretty good indication it must have exploded.
Yeah, what do you think the rest of the crew members would say if they were all here with you?
You think back on what could have happened and what a lot of things happened in that length of time. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know what they think.
Because we couldn't have done it without him. For Bill's birthday, we had a very special surprise.
We wanted to take him back to his flying days and put him in the cockpit.
Something he never would have gotten to do again if things had gone differently on that barge.
When I come from the Air Force, I still wanted to fly. I liked flying.
This was probably the coolest part of the journey, was Bill getting his wings back.
Maybe after looking down on the lake in this pivotal moment in his life, Bill can finally catch the old train that's eluded him in his dreams.
Never trouble. My old man worked me to the point I went to bed. I never went partying. I missed that in my life. But nowadays you don't have to work anyway. The government looks after you. Not like it used to be. She damn well sat up the table and ate what's there, not what you wanted.
miners had their own lifestyle. They were drinkers and gamblers, and they liked fast women, and any money that they made was spent foolishly. Only time a miner's any good to you, he has to be broke. If you got money, you leave him in town. That's calling it the way it is, right? Yeah.
What do you think work was like back then compared to now?
Oh, they don't work now? What are you talking about? Like you guys. That's not work. You sweat run down the crack of your ass all the time. The way we worked. Yeah, it's a lot different. A lot different.